So this is another one, I guess, is going to be less timely than the last one I talked about, but I guess it was for Easter this year. My mother-in-law got me a piano book of all of the Star Trek themes, which I've been having a lot of fun with. It's only up to, I guess it would be up to Enterprise, but it also has all of the movies.
Okay.
Um, I don't think it has Nemesis, so like everything, but like because it's the movies up through Insurrection, and then
hmm
yeah, the shows up through Enterprise, and
So,
just has like
so it has Faith of the Heart
so
then,
it
or
does
does it
have
have?
Faith of the Heart, which I will say like as much fun as they all are to play, like that Faith of the Heart actually like works well as like a piano ballad, whereas like
Yeah,
the sort of slow fanfare of Deep Space Nine or Voyager kind of loses something when you're just like
yeah.
playing it on a piano. but but yeah, Faith of the Heart is actually like very fun to like play.
Does it have the credits sequence of any of them? Because like I always think because the credits sequence for Enterprise, I always that one I find easy to remember for some reason, like the da 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 that thing.
Really, I have never noticed the credits for Enterprise
Yeah.
actually.
Well,
Interesting.
I
Yeah,
think
no,
I
it's
hear
all of them. It's just like the sort of like main theme.
because
Um,
I hear the credit sequence for Enterprise. I think, and I'm like, I think I've been watching that show, so it's
right,
it's
right.
more it comes to my mind. But it's like I'm like they should have maybe just made this be the credits, the
The
song, like
the theme,
because
yeah,
it's an instrumental.
right. But yes, that it. I was like, I should bring this up for an Enterprise one, just because of the amount of airtime we've given Faith of the Heart.
Is
Oh, I even
is
for
the animated series is the animated series in there?
it does not have the animated series. I didn't think about that till now, but yeah, that's a good point. It doesn't
Oh, the
have the
animated
animated
series has a
series, which
good
is a
theme
really fun
too.
one. Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
like
hmm
the the original series like
But like a
backwards.
little different.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like kind of zhuzhed up a little bit.
Um,
Um,
yeah, it doesn't have the
that's
animated
cool.
series, but yeah, like it's got the original series, TNG, like all of the movies, which I only really like kind of recognize the music from like the motion picture, obviously, and
Right.
First Contact has a really good like theme.
hmm
And
hmm
the rest of them, I'm just like, oh, I guess I've never thought about what like the music for Generations was, but
Yeah, I certainly couldn't hum it. Although I don't know that I can necessarily even hum the Voyager and DS9
this is
ones
something I've thought before of like,
without getting like played in on them. Like as
yeah,
soon as
like
they
it,
start, I could do it, but
right.
like
Yeah, like out of the
yeah,
blue, I can sometimes I can usually remember like one of them at a time, and I'm not sure which one it is.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's very much one of those like I know they're different songs, but I've never seen them both in the same place type of thing.
yeah, yeah. That's a good way to describe it. That's fun though.
Yeah, yeah, I was real excited about it. I was like, this is a lot of fun.
Any of the movies where you were like, oh, that is good, like when you played it.
I think like the first contact one, I can is another one that I can never remember offhand what it is, but as soon as I hear it, I'm just like, oh yeah, this one that is really good. Like I remember even when we watched the mirror episode of Enterprise that like starts out with the scene from First Contact, and they're like playing the music
Yeah.
from that scene, and I'm just like, oh man, that movie had a really good song.
hmm
Um, but yeah, the other ones are just kind of, and I, part of it is like because I like I can read music and like sight read decently well, but also like it's way easier to like play something if I also already know how it's supposed to sound in my head. And so like yeah, a lot of
hmm
the other movies I've just kind of played through and be like, I don't really I don't know, it's just kind of generic themey type stuff in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That sounds like a fun thing. I don't think my wife would go for that piano book, but she has some stuff like that. But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hi everybody, welcome to Out of Contreks, a show where two guys who have seen part of Star Trek try to watch all of it in no particular order. I'm Ryan Howard,
And I'm Brady Jungle.
and today we're talking about Ceasefire, which is Star Trek Enterprise, Season 2, Episode 15, written by Chris Black, directed by David Strayton. And the memorable synopsis is Archer is called in to mediate a territorial dispute between the Vulcans and the Andorians. So we watched an Enterprise episode a couple of episodes ago, and then we're kind of now exiting what has been like a Voyager heavy period on the random number generator, and I think we're entering a Enterprise heavy period because we just watched those last two, and then I'm looking at the schedule. We've got a little bit. We've got like I can see at least 3 or 4. I think I can see at least 4 coming up in the coming months as well. So a lot of Enterprise to discuss. A lot of late Enterprise though, more than this.
So, we promise we won't talk about Faith of the Heart every time.
Yeah, well, I don't promise that, but yeah, this episode, I think my takeaway from this episode is that like guest stars are important. If you can get a good guest star, like if you get a good guest star, it really makes a difference. And if you get a bad guest star, that also makes a difference. And, sometimes if you have a really, really great cast, it doesn't matter as much, but I think especially on this show, because I would say this is like this episode is a tale of like whenever Saval is talking, I'm kind of like, ugh. And then whenever Shran is talking, I'm like, now here, this is an actor, yeah. And so that was kind of my experience of.
Yes. And whenever the actual cast of Enterprise is talking, you're back to just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
which to be fair is not much in this episode. So,
and then we kind of like the kind of hot coded Andorian woman is talking. I'm like,
okay. So actually, do you know who that is?
No,
I looked at. So this is something I had looked up. I think back the first time we were going to watch this one.
Yeah, we had to reschedule
so the both of the sort of like second in command people in this one, you have seen before. So her, the like what's that character's name in this one? Tara, the like second in command Andorian, who's this like Tara, tall. Yeah. That is Susie Plaxon, who is a Kalar. In TNG,
is that
like Worf's Alexander's mother?
Oh yeah, interesting. Okay.
She's a few other like fairly major characters. Oh yeah, like she's the female Q in Voyager, and Silar, who I mostly remember as like a timelines card I would get all the time, but I forget which like what she actually does on the show.
Okay.
But yeah, like most notably known as Kalar, who is I think really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, like she's good. And then the second in command like Vulcan guy.
Oh yeah, sub commander, whatever the hell his name is.
He is the accountant from Parks and Recreation.
The accountant from Parks and Recreation.
That like hires Ben whenever he like loses his job. I think he's in like a few other episodes.
Oh yeah. I remember that guy kind of. Yeah, I haven't watched
like he's pretty funny in that. But yeah.
He's also plays multiple Star Trek roles. Looks like he plays he plays one of the why can't I think of their names right now? He plays a Vorta, and he is in Think Tank episode of Voyager, and he plays a Suliban in a different episode of. Oh no, I'm thinking of, this is a different guy. No, I'm looking at.
Yeah.
No, this is Telev. What's that guy's name?
Subcommander Murak. John Balma. Is the actor.
Okay, yes, I see. Oh, so this is his only.
Yeah,
oh yeah, I do see him now as the accountant guy. I've seen.
Yeah, like as soon as you like see it, you're like, oh yeah, that guy. Also on his page, I'm now seeing apparently Adam Scott was in First Contact, which I didn't know. But
interesting. And Jim O'Hare.
I think I remember.
No. Jim O'Hare is in. We saw him in an episode of.
Yeah, I remember. We were like, oh hey, it's.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's in. Oh yeah, he's in Critical Care. Yeah, of Voyager.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this episode, though, I don't know. I think I found this episode kind of boring. It seemed like at least the parts that didn't have Jeffrey Combs in
Sure.
him.
Sure.
Um, I see maybe you like this episode a little bit more than me.
Yeah, it was a little bit, again, like I feel like I'm still comparing it to like it's not a bad Enterprise episode, which like there are definitely I feel like there are definitely Enterprise episodes where I'm like much less engaged, whereas this one I was like, okay, I'm following the story some, and like there's a while where you're trying to figure out like who, is it was it the Vulcans or the Andorians that did it, and yeah.
Yeah.
Um I also think I don't mind Saval as much as you do. So,
Yeah, I don't know. I just am.
but I
I
guess
think
you've
watching.
probably seen more of him because I think he's in like the early Enterprise a lot.
Well,
So,
I think like watching the show through, I have been becoming less uh tolerant both of him and of T'Pol, where I'm just sort of
mm,
like like it feels like those two characters, like their purpose, it's like such a thankless role in like anything, which is like their purpose is just to be like no Star Trek episodes are allowed to happen,
right, like
like
the character is supposed to is like a wet blanket like on
right.
purpose.
And
Yeah,
it's like, you can get away with that, like it's like I think obviously Bones is a character that never wants an episode of Star Trek to happen,
sure.
but like Bones has so much
Yeah, Bones
personality,
is more that he's just like I don't think he tries to stop a Star Trek episode from happening. It's just he like complains about it the whole time while he's in one.
Yeah,
Which I think is more potentially more fun, and also yeah, like DeForest Kelly has a personality, so
right. And these two they're just kind of like, I just don't think we should be doing anything, and I'm like, well, but I would really like to watch something happen,
sure,
like that's what sounds great to me. But
yeah,
anyhow, you could take us in on this one.
yeah. So this starts out in this like this kind of battlefield between the Vulcans and the Andorians, and like Shran is there and has this kind of like base camp headquarters set up, and he has his second in command, Tara, um, and she's very much like we need to keep like attacking and like defeat the Vulcans and drive them off this planet, and he's like I'm willing to I think we need to negotiate with them, and like we have some like bargaining chips now, we need to make some sort of a deal, but obviously like we can't trust Vulcans, so he says we need like there's someone that I trust that will be able to like mediate between us and the Vulcans, and it's Archer, and so I'll only talk to Archer. Um,
Hmm.
and I did just Shran is great because Jeffrey Combs is great, but also whenever there's Andorians in this show, I'm always just like
You're
I
just
love
watching
the
the antenna.
antennas so much. They're
Yes, I
so well.
agree.
They're
I
like the best part of possibly like Enterprise. The entire show is the Andorian
Right.
antennas.
I was
They're
I was
so
saying
good.
that to Kim. It's funny. We were talking about this. Kim and I watched this episode together because it was the next one we were watching at for the show, our watch through anyway. So it worked out. And we had just gotten back from watching Disclosure Day, like the new Spielberg
Oh
movie,
yeah.
which Kim really did not like, and I thought was pretty good. I not like my favorite of his lately. I think people have been kind of mean to him, or just lately in that, like, I think his last two movies before this are both like really great. I think with both of his last two movies, Fablemans and West Side Story, I'd probably put them in my top 10 of his. I would not do
Okay.
that with this, but we were talking. I think one of the weaknesses of Disclosure Day is that it uses CG, and even though the CG is like pretty good, it's still just like you compare it to ET, and obviously ET is
Mm-hmm.
like basically a perfect movie, and so it's not like if they had, but it's just like ET. It's like the tactility of ET, which is such an ugly little creature, but like just the tactility of it goes
Right.
so far
Yeah.
to why that movie works. And like there's some stuff in this movie where I'm like, that should have just been a real thing. And I think maybe you would have had to get a little more creative with how you portrayed it if it was a real thing, but it would have been better.
Yeah. There's still just something that you can like feel in. something
Right.
that's actually there. Yeah.
And yeah, and then watching this episode, which is just full of not even just Combs, but like the other Andorians too, where you're just like, the antenna work in the show is so expressive, and it
Yeah.
feels real, like, and so like I agree with you. It's kind of like my favorite thing about Enterprise is that anytime that I get to watch an episode with Andorians, I'm like, oh, those antenna, they're back, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. They're so
So
fun.
my favorite bit actually is there's a scene. It isn't even with Combs; it's with Tara, who I found her performance to be like all right in this. Like, there's a scene toward the end where she's like shooting somebody, like she's like, you see her like firing like off screen, and I'm like, no one has ever been like less engaged to like be in a gunfight than her,
Sure.
you know.
Like, dude,
But
yeah.
like,
Yeah, it is very much she's waiting for Archer to sneak up on her and
right,
start the
exactly,
fight
yeah.
scene. And I
And
think probably like waiting more than she was prepared to.
right. And but like there's a scene where she's confronted, and like she like kind of turns around, and then like her antenna kind of like press back against her head in this sort of like both anger but also like a defensive, like I was like, I'm surprised to be like, you were just like, you're like, somehow I understand what.
Yeah, it's whoever's doing like I don't know how much of it's direction or just like the puppeteers that are like, but yeah, they like
But it's really good,
do
yeah.
a great job of like using them to actually communicate things
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
somehow, which like I don't even know how you do that because like you have no reference point for like what an angry antenna would look like versus
Right.
but
Yeah, but it
but you
works.
somehow still
You're like,
know.
yeah,
Yeah, like you wonder like what did they study like cats or something? I don't know.
yeah.
But yeah, it's great. Um and so then you basically like Enterprise is on their way to meet up with the Vulcans to go to this negotiation. And there's a scene where like Archer and Trip and T'Pol are kind of sitting and eating dinner and doing some exposition. But it does also have a very like this one goes to 11 type moment where because Trip's like, oh, we're running. I don't like that we're running the fuel injectors or whatever at 110%, and Archer's like, well, I thought they were rated for up to 120%. And I was just like, why? Why
Yeah.
would they? Why would they be
What?
rated for 120%?
What does that mean? Yeah.
Why wouldn't? Shouldn't 100% be all of the injecting you can do? I don't
Yeah.
like what. I don't know. It. Yeah.
Classic Star Trek issue.
Yeah. I also wrote down that Trip tries to make a joke that's like, yeah, well, my underwear is flame retardant and I don't go around setting myself in fire. And then like Archer and T'Pol kind of share this look where like it's very much Archer is just like, do I need to be worried about him? Like, is he okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, but then T'Pol kind of gives this like this exposition, this backstory. So like it's this planet that was originally like uninhabitable, but is on the sort of like border of space between like Vulcan space and Andorian space. And the Andorians went there, say like they went there first. They started to like colonize it, and then the Vulcans were like, no, that's actually like in our space and like of like strategic value. And the only reason you were doing that is to like build a secret military base to attack Vulcan from. And so then the Vulcans like took it away from the Andorians and like displaced the like settlers that lived there.
I think I would the interesting thing about this to me was that it actually seemed like it wasn't even that like it was in Vulcan space, because I was like, to me, I felt like the Vulcans were pretty clearly in the wrong in this episode, because
Yeah, it seems that way. Yeah.
it seemed because like what T'Pol actually says is that like no one had claimed it, and then the Andorians went there and started building stuff there, and we didn't like it because the only reason you would want to build something there is because it's a military base. And it's like, well, okay, I understand that, I guess, but like it was nobody's, no one lived there, and then another species
And
claimed
now they
it.
do live there. Yeah.
Yeah, and now you're like, well, we don't think you should be there. It's like, well, maybe you should have gotten there. Like, it feels like a pretty clear, oh, well, we don't want that to happen, and but it's like, well, kind of tough, you know what I mean? Like, it's yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I thought that was an interesting
Which yeah, which is like very much um Shran and like the Andorians are very much in the like their position is this is ours, like people live here, we deserve to keep it, and like now are trying to like take it back because the Vulcans had sort of occupied it and displaced the settlers, and there was some like treaty that was signed 100 years ago that gives the Vulcans control of it, and now the Andorians are trying to like take it back because they're like, this is our colony that like people deserve to live on.
And I think it seemed like it was a treaty that was sort of forced upon the Andorians by the Vulcans too. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Um, so then like they meet up first. They meet up with the Vulcans, and Archer thinks like, oh, like Saval called me in to help with this negotiation, and Saval's basically like, no, trust me, I don't want you here, but
yeah.
you're the only person that Shran will talk to, and he like specifically asked for you, so that's why we're taking you to this planet.
Hmm.
And there's like the one flock scene, which man, this show really like used John Billingsley far too sparingly.
Hmm. Yeah, he has this little scene where he gets to like, yeah, a really weirdly staged scene where it's like he's like talking to him behind like a barrier, and so like half the time his voice his voice kind of sounds like this
Yeah,
because he's
talking to
behind a wall. It's very odd.
yeah. But basically kind of lets Archer talk a little bit about how like yeah, like I want to do a good job here because I want like us to be kind of taken more seriously and like prove that humans are like deserve kind of a place in galactic community.
Yeah,
Um, and then Enflox is basically like just don't get killed, like
yeah.
it's a war zone. Um,
Yeah, and you are honestly like you're kind of like reselling me on the episode. I think there's a lot of like interesting stuff here. My problem is just that I think the episode doesn't. I think it really slows down at the end. I felt like the setup for it is good and there's some interesting stuff, and then like the last part of the episode is just a lot of like Saval being like, I don't know, I don't like that, or
yeah, he kind of spends the whole time being like, I don't want to go, like I don't
yeah,
want you here, I don't want me here, I don't want to negotiate, and
yeah, and then there's just kind of like a long and there's like a long, not very good like fight at the end. You
sure,
know, conceptually though, I like the episode.
yeah. Um, and yeah, and I think it also like they're trying to establish. So first, just Archer and T'Pol go down, and T'Pol is very like concerned of like she's like I gave you like 2,000 pages of reference material to like be prepared, and is like very concerned that Archer's not going to do a good job.
Hmm.
Um, but I think it's interesting that like I feel like it's portrayed more as like she's more concerned like on his behalf, like she wants him to do well is more than like it's not just that like she wants the Vulcans to win.
Yeah,
Like she's more concerned about like Archer sort of succeeding in what he's trying to do. But they go down
yeah, that's true.
together and like they meet with Shran, who is basically like we've taken three like Vulcan prisoners in the last sort of like fighting, and so we have like like something to negotiate with. We'll release the prisoners. In return, we want like the Vulcans to cede this planet back to us. And like Archer's like that feels like kind of a steep, like a pretty steep
Yeah,
demand to be
that's not really a
making.
negotiation. Yeah, like it's that's just sort of like a you need to give us everything that we want.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so Archer's like if you're gonna negotiate, you have to like do actual like negotiating. And Shran is kind of like gets angry and is like, well, and so does
Tara.
Tara, right? Like whenever like you try to negotiate with Vulcans, it just like wastes a bunch of time and nothing gets done, and they always have to like go back and like talk to their superiors, and like it just wastes. Like we need to solve this, and so we're either going to fight for it or we want like something to be like solved right now.
That doesn't sound like not true. I don't think that like negotiating with Vulcans probably is super fun. You know.
Right. Yes. Like it's not gonna you're not gonna like get what you want.
Yeah.
Um and so Archer's like, okay, like kind of what they settle on is like Archer will bring Saval, who's this like kind of senior Vulcan ambassador, like down to the planet to talk directly with Shran and like actually like settle something. And they agree to like release one of the prisoners as a like show of good faith. And so Archer goes back to the ship, argues with Saval for a while to like convince him to do this. They do actually like point out that like Vulcans don't understand tennis metaphors, which is kind of
Yeah.
fun because he says like the ball's in your court, and Saval and the other Vulcan kind of like look at each other, being like ball in your court, and then T'Pol has to explain like they mean that like you're the next person that has to act. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, then there's kind of just like some exposition, and then they go down to the planet, and then the shuttle that they're going down in gets shot down, but it's not clear like did it come from the Vulcans or did it come from the Andorians? Like someone like betrayed us and is trying to just like start a war, but we don't know who it was. And they kind of keep that like vague for a little while, but not very long, and then they're just like, no, it was the Andorians. It was the
Yeah, I was
Andorian
thinking, it
second in
feels
command.
pretty obvious who it is the entire time, that it's specifically
Yeah,
what's her name? It's Tara.
yeah,
Um I liked I liked Archer's dilemma here, which is that he's like, I want to do a good job, but otherwise function, I really don't want to be here. And I think it's like it's a classic like kind of interpersonal argument type thing where he's just sort of like, where like the Andorians are like, you just will do whatever the Vulcans say, and then the Vulcans are like, you're just here to be like a shill for the Andorians, and he's like, I don't even like
right.
either of you guys. Like
You asked for me.
yeah, it's like I didn't even want to come. Like yeah, and
Yeah,
I do like where he's just sort of like, okay, I have to do a good job. I have to be the bigger person here,
right.
which I think is pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is kind of like he's in sort of this situation where like both sides are like being so kind of absolute that it's just like, yeah, you're not going to agree on anything when you're negotiating. Like you both just want the planet. It's going to be a hard one to get any sort of like compromise to happen. Um
Right.
but yeah, they get shot down, and yeah, Saval just kind of like complains for a while and just like, we need, this is why I shouldn't have come, and like we need to go back to the Vulcan side. And Archer's like, no, I'm taking you to Shran. And he's then there's just a lot of like they kind of go through and keep getting shot at, and then Archer has to like sneak around and action roll to like get behind the Andorians, and
Yeah, he has to
then
kind of do some like quick time events,
right,
that kind of a thing.
right, and then like yeah, sneaks up behind, like knocks out like some like other Andorian that's shooting at them, and then like sneaks up and like captures Tara, but then like he kind of like trips, and so she like fights him for a while, and he beats her, and then like Shran shows up, and then he has to convince Shran like she betrayed you and like wasn't following your orders and was trying to kill us, and sort of like convinces Shran of that, and Shran gets mad at Tara. And then I guess the other thing that's happening during this is up on Enterprise, like the Vulcan ships and then some Andorian ships show up, and they're both like about to send more troops down to the planet because they know something's going on, and like kind of escalate the actual like war that's happening. And so Trip, who's on the Enterprise, is like put the Enterprise like between those two ships and stop both of them from going down. Um, he puts he does put them on like split screen
Yes, we were
on like
laughing
the
at
screen,
that.
which was
We were
just
laughing
fun.
at yeah, we're it's just like I've never seen that like kind of it reminds me of that scene in Mean Girls where like it's like revolving around like the call wait, or like the thing you could use to be able to do on phones, but where it's just like where
Yeah,
like,
like
when they,
put a call holding or whatever, call waiting. Yeah,
yeah. And a thing that now, like when they remade it and they did the musical, I don't know if it's in the stage show, but in the movie musical of it, like that scene is not like that, because like that would be totally incomprehensible
right.
uh to today's audience of teens or whatever who's supposed to be experiencing this. So yeah, that was yeah, but that's what it made me think of when I saw that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, basically he's like if either of you tries to go down to the planet, like we will stop you. Um, which is like, I get what he's trying to do, but also like, neither one of them would be scared of Enterprise, right? Like,
Sure.
isn't that kind of thing is like Enterprise is clearly like a lower, like less advanced ship than the Vulcans and the Andorians.
Yeah, I mean the Vulcans in particular, like obviously they introduced the humans to space travel basically, and
Yeah,
then the Andorians, it seems like their whole thing is like having like a large amount of like offensive capabilities. So that seems, yeah,
yeah,
it seems unlikely that they would be particularly threatened by that.
but yeah. Ultimately, he managed to sort of just like stall them long enough that then Archer makes it to Shran and they like agree to negotiate. And then Archer like radios up being like, okay, everybody stand down. And they do. And
Hmm.
then there's then like a scene at the end where it's just like, we've agreed to a ceasefire for now. And we're going to like continue like serious negotiations. Again, like I think Shran is really great in that last scene because basically he's like Archer says something along the lines of like, it's a good negotiation if everybody is like equally unhappy about the outcome,
Yeah.
and Tran is just like, well, I'm definitely unhappy, so
Right. Yeah.
let's let's toast our dissatisfaction. um and so yeah, and that's this episode.
Yeah. Um, again, I think I liked what this episode was going for. I think more than I liked the episode. But whatever.
Yeah,
It was okay, I guess. I really don't like Saval. I just find him a total
that's fair.
stick in the mud. Yeah, so this is not as good as the last Enterprise episode that we did, and will it be as good as the next one? I don't know, because the next one we're doing is not for a couple times from now, and I have never seen it before, so we'll have to wait and see. Um,
Yeah, what are we doing next? Let's
yeah, in the
see.
meantime, so we're doing an episode I have seen, but I do not remember what it is by name. It is called The Reckoning. It is DS9 Season 6, Episode 21. So you can check that out in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, you can follow us on Blue Sky at Contreks. You can email us at outofcontreks@gmail.com. You can visit our website at outofcontreks.podbean.com. You can follow us on at YouTube at Out of Contreks. Contreks is spelled Contreks. You can also check out the other shows on the show on the Kaleidoscope Media Podcast, which is Here's Johnny Horror Media Podcast. So check those folks out, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.